Welcome to our channel, where we uncover the mysteries buried by time, the stories that history has deliberately ignored, and the mysteries that remain beyond the reach of human reason. Tonight, as the world falls silent, we will travel back in time, to a distant era, to a place where greatness and mystery are one. Imagine an ancient world, not the splendor of Greece or Rome, not Egypt with its towering pyramids, but another civilization, an empire more mysterious than you can imagine, flourishing on fertile riverbanks, thriving in proud isolation. More than 4,500 years ago, when much of the world was still in the Stone Age, when other civilizations were just taking their first steps. In what is now Pakistan and northwestern India, an advanced society quietly built incredibly modern cities. They did not need huge walls or mighty armies to rule. They did not leave behind monumental temples or dazzling monuments to their victories. Instead, they built a society of order, hygiene and harmony, with urban planning that still astounds us today. This was the Harappan Civilization, also known as the Indus Valley Civilization. More than 1,000 cities and towns have been excavated, from vast urban centers like Mohenjo-Daro and Harappa, to small riverside villages. They had drainage systems far more advanced than European cities would be thousands of years later. They had huge public baths, huge grain storage facilities, and a unique writing system that has yet to be deciphered. A society with no signs of large-scale warfare, no magnificent palaces for kings, no magnificent temples for gods, just prosperity, trade, and an unusually peaceful communal life. And then, they disappeared. No explanation. No recorded final battle, no mention of a devastating plague, no clearly documented Great Migration. Just silence. For thousands of years, this civilization lay completely forgotten under layers of dust and soil, until the first ruins were discovered in the early 20th century. The biggest question facing archaeologists and historians is, what happened to them? How could such an advanced and peaceful civilization disappear without a trace, leaving behind one of the greatest mysteries in human history? Tonight, we will find out together. The Harappan Civilization, also known as the Indus Valley Civilization, is one of the three great ancient civilizations of the world, along with Egypt and Mesopotamia. Unlike its more famous cousins, however, the Harappans are much less well known, largely due to their sudden and mysterious disappearance, and the fact that their writing system has yet to be deciphered. Located along the Indus River basin and its tributaries, spanning a larger area than any other ancient civilization, from present-day Afghanistan, through Pakistan, and into parts of northwestern India, the civilization flourished from around 2500 BC to 1900 BC. What made the Harappans so unique and amazing was their urban planning. Great cities like Mohenjo-Daro and Harappa were not haphazard clusters of buildings but masterpieces of engineering and architecture. They were built on a perfect square grid plan, with wide streets intersecting at right angles, dividing the city into rectangular blocks. Each city typically had an upper citadel, which is believed to have housed important public buildings or the residences of officials, and a lower city, which was home to the common people. The Harappan sanitation and drainage system was one of the most remarkable, far surpassing that of any other civilization of the time. Most houses had their own bathrooms and toilets, with brick or terracotta pipes that drained wastewater into large, tiled, covered drains along the streets. These drains then carried the wastewater out of the city. There were even well-built public wells that provided clean water to the people. This attention to public sanitation indicates a high level of social organization and sense of community. The Harappan economy thrived on agriculture and trade. They grew wheat, barley, and cotton, and were even the first in the world to grow cotton for textiles. They were skilled traders, with trade links to Mesopotamia, Persia, and Central Asia. Unique Harappan seals, often engraved with animal figures, such as elephants, tigers, unicorns, etc., and undeciphered scripts, have been found in remote areas, testifying to their extensive trade networks. These seals were not only a means of authenticating goods, but also a mysterious aspect of this civilization, suggesting a complex system of governance. One of the most enigmatic things about Harappan is the apparent lack of monumental religious or military architecture. There are no pyramids, no elaborate temples to the gods, no grand tombs for kings, and little evidence of large-scale warfare. This is in stark contrast to Egypt or Mesopotamia, where kings/pharaohs were revered and frequently waged war. Harappan seems to have been a relatively egalitarian society, with no clear ruling class, or if they did, their power was not expressed through monumental structures. Houses were built fairly uniformly in size and quality, suggesting a harmonious communal life. However, there are some structures that may have had a public or ceremonial character, most notably the Great Bath at Mohenjo-Daro, a massive, waterproof brick structure believed to have been a place for ritual bathing or community gatherings. The presence of these large public baths, along with the enormous grain storage facilities, suggests a highly organized society with an emphasis on community welfare and cooperation. Although there is no clear evidence of kings or empires, a number of small statues have been found, most notably the so-called priest king, a placid-looking man with a neatly trimmed beard, headband and elaborately decorated robes. His true identity and role remain a mystery, but he is one of the few images that hints at a leadership or religious class in Harappan society. So, such an advanced, prosperous, and organized civilization flourished for hundreds of years on the Indus River plains. They achieved incredible feats in architecture, engineering, commerce, and society. But then, around 1900 BC, something happened. An event, or a series of events, that silenced this great civilization. Cities were abandoned. People disappeared. And the mystery began. The collapse of an empire without war. No sign of large-scale invasion. Just a gradual, or sudden, disintegration that remains an unanswered question. The Harappan civilization's rise to power did not last forever. Around 1900 BC, a period of decline began to emerge. This did not happen suddenly, in an instantaneous catastrophe, but rather over a long period of time, with subtle but clear signs that archaeologists have detected. The archaeological evidence has gradually revealed a complex picture of change, suggesting that a once strong and highly organized civilization was losing control. One of the most notable signs is the deterioration of urban planning and construction quality. At their peak, Harappan cities were renowned for their uniformly fired bricks, sturdy walls, and excellent drainage systems. However, In later archaeological layers, scientists have found houses that were hastily built, without following the original planning rules. Bricks were reused from older structures, of inferior quality and of uneven size. The once proud sewer system is now clogged, broken, and poorly maintained. This suggests a decline in central management, or perhaps a lack of resources and manpower to maintain the high standards that had been achieved. Along with the decline in architecture, there is evidence suggesting a change in environmental conditions. Studies of river sediments and pollen samples suggest a significant change in climate around this time. The once fertile region, irrigated by the Indus and seasonal rivers, appears to have become drier. Rivers may have changed their course, or floods may have become more erratic, severely affecting agriculture, the basis of the Harappan economy. Water became scarce, and once green fields were now at risk of turning into barren land. The reliance on agriculture in a changing environment may have put enormous pressure on food supplies. The huge grain silos, once a symbol of prosperity and storage, may no longer have been as full as they once were. A society as peaceful and without signs of large-scale warfare as the Harappan would have been vulnerable to a threat to basic food supplies. Resource scarcity could have led to internal tensions that, although not outright armed conflict, were enough to weaken the social fabric. In addition, the quality of craft products also shows a marked decline. Ceramics, jewelry, and seals found in the later stages of the Harappan civilization are often less sophisticated than earlier products. The motifs become simpler, and the crafting techniques no longer reach the high level they had before. This may be due to a shortage of raw materials, the dispersion of skilled artisans, or a change in production priorities, focusing on quantity over quality to meet increasing demand. The deterioration was not limited to material things. There is circumstantial evidence of a breakdown in social and administrative structures. The disappearance of seals, which were important tools of trade and administration, suggests that commercial and administrative systems may have weakened or collapsed. No clear central authority emerged to maintain order and provide public services such as sanitation and water management. Communities may have become self-sufficient, leading to dispersion and loss of cohesion between major cities. As water sources dried up, soils became less fertile, and social support systems weakened, people began to leave the major cities. Smaller migrations may have occurred, as families or communities sought more fertile land or more reliable water sources. Large cities gradually emptied, not through a massacre or invasion, but through the gradual loss of the inhabitants who had once made them so vital. Archaeological evidence suggests a significant decline in the population of major urban areas. And then, silence fell. The great cities that had once been the centers of a thriving civilization lay abandoned, slowly being buried by the sands and the passage of time. Thousands of years later, when the first archaeologists began excavating these ruins in the early 20th century, they found only one big question: what caused an advanced civilization like the Harappan to disappear completely from the historical map, leaving no explanation for its demise? These signs of decline were only the beginning of a much deeper mystery. The disappearance of the Harappan civilization has puzzled historians and archaeologists for decades. With no clear evidence of a single catastrophe or large-scale invasion, they have sought more complex explanations. Theories range from environmental changes, natural disasters, and internal social factors, each offering their own piece of the puzzle. The most widely accepted hypothesis revolves around climate and environmental change. Around 2000 BC, the region is believed to have experienced a prolonged dry spell, known as the 4.2 kiloyear event, a global climate event recorded in many parts of the world. The Harappan civilization relied heavily on the Indus River and seasonal rivers for irrigation. As rainfall decreased, rivers dried up, or changed their course erratically, water for irrigation and domestic use became scarce. This would have ruined crops, leading to famine and severe food shortages, forcing people to abandon major cities in search of more fertile land and reliable water sources. Another variation of the environmental hypothesis is flooding and river course changes. The Indus is a huge river, and major seasonal floods are a given. However, if the frequency and intensity of the floods had increased abnormally, or if the Indus had changed its course, it could have destroyed irrigation structures, ruined crops, and rendered cities unsustainable. Mohenjo-Daro, for example, was built on low-lying land and would have been flooded many times. A major change in the river course could have driven the river away from urban centers, making access to water difficult, or buried them under silt. The second theory, once popular but now less accepted, is the Aryan invasion. This theory proposes that a group of Indo-European-speaking nomads, known as the Aryans, from Central Asia migrated into the Indus Valley, bringing horses and more advanced bronze weapons, and conquered or massacred the Harappans. One of the most disturbing pieces of evidence supporting this theory is the finding of several individual remains at Mohenjo-Daro that show signs of violent trauma, known as massacre pits. However, later analysis has shown that these remains do not belong to the same period and do not represent a large-scale attack. Furthermore, there are no obvious signs of a major military invasion or of the type of defensive fortifications seen in other civilizations. One hypothesis that is less well supported by archaeology but cannot be ruled out is that of disease. A highly urbanized civilization with good sanitation could still be vulnerable to outbreaks of disease. If a new or particularly virulent disease emerged and spread rapidly, it could have decimated populations, disrupted social structures, and left cities unable to recover, leading to their decline and abandonment. However, finding direct evidence of a large-scale ancient epidemic is extremely difficult. Some scholars have also proposed hypotheses about human-caused environmental degradation, such as excessive deforestation for timber and fuel, or overfarming that has left soils infertile. This may have altered natural ecosystems, leading to soil erosion, changing rainfall patterns, and ultimately reducing agricultural productivity, forcing people to migrate. Finally, some researchers have suggested that the Harappan collapse was not due to a single factor but rather a combination of factors, leading to a process of internal social and economic disintegration. It is possible that a small initial climate change put pressure on food supplies. This pressure, coupled with a decline in trade relations with Mesopotamia, due to changes on both sides, led to economic decline. As the economy weakened, so did the ability to maintain public works such as drainage systems and roads. The absence of a strong central authority or a flexible system of governance to adapt to new challenges caused Harappan society to gradually disintegrate into smaller, less connected communities, eventually leading to the abandonment of the cities. Whatever the theory, the greatest mystery remains the absence of a final explanation. There was no cry of a fallen empire, no heroic final battle, no written record of the tragedy. There was only silence. This great civilization, with its perfectly planned cities and advanced sanitation, simply vanished into the mists of history, leaving us with questions larger than any answers. Was there an event so terrible that no one could recount it, or was it simply the long process of inevitable change? After thousands of years of being buried in dust and oblivion, the Harappan civilization was finally rediscovered in the early 20th century. From broken pottery, ancient bricks, and excavated city ruins, archaeologists have pieced together a picture of a thriving society. However, each new discovery seems to raise more questions than answers, especially about their ultimate fate. One of the greatest mysteries that remains is their writing system. Thousands of seals and small tablets have been found, engraved with unique hieroglyphic characters. To this day, no one has been able to decipher them. This is in stark contrast to other ancient civilizations such as the Egyptians with their hieroglyphs or the Mesopotamians with their cuneiform, which have been deciphered, providing a wealth of information about their history, religion, and life. The fact that the Harappan script remains a mystery means that we have no direct texts from the Harappans themselves to tell their story, their beliefs, or the reasons for their disappearance. This is a veil that almost completely covers the soul and voice of a great civilization. The lack of clear evidence of religion and political power is also a big question. We don't find massive temples or elaborate tombs like in Egypt or Mesopotamia. Small statues of so-called priest-kings and some female figures, possibly Mother Earth, are only small clues. This raises the question, who did they worship? How did their power structure work? Were they such an egalitarian society that they didn't need massive symbols of power or religion? Or was a significant part of their beliefs and social organization lost to time or a catastrophe that we can't find? Special sites like the Great Baths of Mohenjo-Daro add to the mystery. Its exact purpose is still debated. Was it a site for ritual purification, or simply a large public swimming pool? The meticulousness of its construction and size suggest a deeper meaning, but we lack the context to fully understand it. It's like a beautiful puzzle piece without the rest of the picture. Even more fanciful theories have emerged among history and mystery enthusiasts. Some have proposed that the Harappans may have possessed technology far beyond our own time, and that their disappearance may have been linked to some form of energy or equipment malfunction. While there is no concrete scientific evidence, the idea reflects the desperation to find a strong enough explanation for the complete disappearance of a civilization. Surprisingly, however, the Harappan influence continued to reverberate even after their disappearance. Some scholars believe that elements of their culture, religion, and practices were passed down and influenced later Indian civilizations. Some religious iconography in modern Hinduism, such as the god Shiva in the form of Pashupati, Lord of the Animals, is believed to have originated from Harappan seals. Elements of urban planning and sanitation have also been found in later ancient cities. This suggests that the Harappans did not completely disappear but may have assimilated into new cultures, taking some of their heritage with them. Whatever happened, the Harappan civilization remains a powerful reminder of the fragility of societies and the limits of our understanding of the past. It shows us that even the most advanced societies can collapse for complex reasons, often a combination of factors rather than a single event. The questions about their disappearance remain, inviting the next generation of researchers to dig deeper, searching for new clues in the layers of soil and time. And when we look at the silent ruins of Mohenjo-Daro or Harappa, we see not just ancient bricks and streets, but a whisper from the past, a story of great rise, mysterious collapse, and a civilization that vanished from sight but never from human curiosity. This mystery remains, challenging us to seek answers. Or to accept the fact that some questions may never be fully answered. The Harappan civilization may have disappeared from the historical map for thousands of years, but its legacy and mysteries continue to resonate in the modern world. Their rediscovery in the 20th century was not only a triumph of archaeology, but also a reminder that history always has untold stories waiting to be revealed. And it is these unsolved mysteries that make the Harappan so fascinating. Today, the Harappan remains are more than just rotting bricks or undeciphered seals. They are living evidence of human organization, innovation, and adaptation. Their advanced urban planning, complex drainage systems, and developed trading economy laid the foundation for many concepts of urban life that we still use today. They were pioneers in everything from agriculture, cotton cultivation, to construction techniques. Their lack of need for powerful military or religious empires to maintain order is also a unique social model that makes us think about past forms of governance. There are even scholars who believe that some of the Harappan culture and beliefs were carried over and assimilated into later Indian civilizations, including Hinduism. Religious imagery such as the horned deity on Harappan seals is considered a precursor to the Hindu god Shiva. The worship of trees, animals, such as cows, and mother goddesses may also have originated in the Harappans. This suggests that their disappearance was not a complete erasure but a transition, an assimilation into later emerging cultures, like an underground stream that still flows silently underground. The search for the Harappan mystery continues unabated. Archaeologists and linguists around the world are poring over the ruins, analyzing soil, plant, and bone samples for new clues. Modern technologies such as ancient DNA analysis, satellite imagery, and climate modeling are opening new doors to understanding their lifestyles, migrations, and possibly the cause of their demise. Each seal found, each layer dug up, each scientific analysis brings new hope of deciphering the mysterious script that could unlock their entire story. One of the greatest lessons the Harappan civilization offers is the vulnerability of societies to the forces of nature and environmental change. Whatever the exact reason, a prolonged drought, a series of devastating floods, changes in river flows, or a combination of factors, their story is a powerful reminder of the importance of sustainability and adaptability. In a world facing climate change, the Harappan story is more relevant than ever, as a warning from the distant past. The Indus Valley Civilization is more than a forgotten chapter in history books. It is a testament to human ingenuity, to the ability to build a thriving society based on peace and cooperation. Their mysterious disappearance is not a full stop, but an ellipsis, an open question that continues to fuel our curiosity. Every brick, every seal, Every ruin is a whisper from thousands of years ago, inviting us to listen and learn. As the night draws to a close and we close the story of the Harappan civilization, we are left with a sense of wonder and a hunger for more. Their mystery remains, a call from the past, a promise of discoveries yet to come. And perhaps it is in that mystery that we find the true beauty of history, where the unsolved stories remain an endless source of inspiration for the human imagination.